Okay, great. Let's go ahead and start. So, Intro to Coding Life. Welcome, everybody. I am going to be your instructor for this lesson, but for future on lessons, Megan will be your instructor. We'll have a quick introduction here shortly, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Intro to Coding Life before we get started. So, first of all, I like this quote here. Programming isn't about what you know, it's about what you can figure out. Right? A lot of you have already mentioned that you have some experience with different coding languages, that there are certain fundamentals that you have maybe already established in previous experiences. And you just heard Danny pretty much just talk to you about, hey, technology changes drastically and super fast, right? Perfect example of that. AI wasn't a thing that many years ago, and now it's pretty much everywhere. Anytime you research anything that has to do with tech, you're going to hear something about AI, AI this or AI that, right? It's like the new favorite topic that everybody likes to hear. Well, the concept of actually being able to find out information, ask the right questions in order to solve a problem never changes, right? And that's more than likely what a programmer is actually bringing to the table nowadays. It's not necessarily our capability to write code, it's our capability to understand code, understand infrastructure, and ask the right questions to be able to solve the right problem with the right solution, right? Just because a piece of the puzzle fits doesn't necessarily mean it should fit. So just keep that in mind as you're working through all of this. Now, about Code Platoon. So, Code Platoon is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit coding bootcamp for veterans and military spouses. For 15 weeks, the students in the Immersive program go through the entire full stack development process, including Python, Django, JavaScript, React, bunch of other technologies that we teach in there. And after completing the program, people are employable as junior full stack web developers. And they're usually eligible for some internships from many generous companies. Now, some light programming experience is required, and that's why we're here, is to get our light programming experience in order to be accepted into the program. So there you can see the roadmap, right? Very clear. We're talking about this section here. We're not talking about post, and we're not talking about previous. Code Platoon is going to be with you from previous all the way to post, and we'll talk about that later on as well. So now, in regards to that previous portion, this 0 to 20%, that's where Intro to Coding Live falls into place. This is to give you everything that you need in order to actually succeed in the follow-on steps, whether it be your application or the program that you're going to be attending. All right, so a little prior to the experience, if not, not a big deal. If you're already in the boot camp that you were desiring, but you're just here to freshen yourself up, or maybe your boot camp is way down the line, but you're here to get these skills now and extend them, either option is okay. The important thing is that we are all here and that we are all ready to learn. All right, and please, well, this is not limited. If you are hoping to attend a different boot camp, if you are interested in other resources that are not from Code Platoon, that is completely okay. We are here to try to help veterans transition into tech along with their spouses. Um, and we're not picky. We're not doing this because we want you to directly go into Code Platoon. It is completely up to you. We are just here to help in the process. Now, with that said, before I go any further, we do have two alum, or not alumni yet, but probably soon to be alumni. But we do have two current students that are here from the immersive classroom that would like to talk to you guys in a Q&A format. Dom and Albert are both immersive students from the Dakota platoon, which is currently going right now, and they are more than halfway done through the program. So I'll open up the floor. Dom and Albert, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, and then afterwards, if anyone has any questions to ask, they are here for you all.
I can kick us off if that's all right, Albert. Hey guys, my name's Dom, coming from Hawaii. I think we just finished week 8 this week, so we're like right at the halfway point. Just finished our third assessment. I think the best thing I can offer you guys is Code Platoon from the outside looking in. I remember when I was in your shoes back in like March or April, and I was like, man, this looks amazing. Like the amount of resources that they're giving, like the intro to live, the live coding, the intro to Python. I can't believe how many great resources they have. It's an even better experience in person. When I say in person, like taking the class than you can imagine. Francisco has been one of our instructors, and so has Kevin, and they've been absolutely amazing. Like one of the best times I've received instruction in my life. received graduate level instruction, undergraduate level instruction, and these guys really focus on helping you understand new concepts and really grasping them so that you can write your own programs. It's pretty amazing. And super happy to be here. Happy to answer any questions you guys might have. I'll hand it over to Albert.
Thanks, Tom. My name's Albert. I'm from Texas. Uh, there's really not much I can add on to what Dom said. In my experience, I had little to no experience in coding, and if I look prospectively from the beginning to now, it's a huge difference. Huge difference. I'm not the strongest coder, and that's perfectly fine. The main thing you want to do is don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, it's okay to be wrong. They want you to be wrong. They expect you to be wrong so that they can you know answer those questions for you. Uh, our halfway point, I'm now starting to get more comfortable asking a little more questions, whereas before I was still kind of, I guess, shy and timid about it. I wish I started asking questions at the beginning because who knows how much more I would have learned about it. But yeah, don't feel bad if you don't know a lot of coding or anything like that, because they will guide you along. They'll teach you the way, and they'll get you to where you need to get to. So yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. In that case, let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for our current students?
I've got one.
Wait.
Yeah, I got a question, Gilbert. All right, let's hear it.
How do I get internship online?
Sorry, one more time.
How do I get internship online? Does that make sense?
How do you get an internship?
Yeah, but online. Because I'm in a different country right now.
Oh, I see. So to attend the program online, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I'm attending the program online and stuff like that. I'm gonna do it online, but
Uh,
like internship can internship be do online per se?
oh,
'Cause
gotcha. Okay, I think I understand the question now. Any Code Platoon hosted internship, they will not have online capabilities as of now. As of now, we are with DRW for being able to provide internships, and they're also not guaranteed for every cohort, right? So some cohorts will have it, some cohorts will not. And the ones that they do offer, they always require our intern to be in person.
in person. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. Mark?
Yes, hi. My question is, did y'all do anything else besides the classes for the live session to help you with the class that you're taking now, the session?
I could take the first one. Maybe Albert, you want to take the next one? Does that sound good?
Yeah, go for
Uh,
it.
so yeah, there's like I think Danny was saying it earlier. There's like so many amazing resources online. I think it's just helpful to hear it from a different perspective or from another voice. So one of the things that I've used to augment, I primarily use two things to augment instruction. CS50 from Harvard. Their videos are free online. And so like if a concept I'm struggling with, like React or something, I'll go and watch CS50's version of it and see if I just can hear it a different way that maybe lands for me, if that makes sense. And then I also use DataCamp. I think somebody else mentioned that earlier in the chat. I think DataCamp they don't have JavaScript, they have Python. I thought it was really good to come out of the Intro to Python course from Code Platoon and then just like refresh and see it a little bit differently from DataCamp. So hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Next, we got Jason.
Yes, thanks a lot. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties with the Zoom app permissions. But my question is, so I currently work in a DevOps environment, but I don't work in a technical role per se. Um, I want to know after completing this actual training, which is about I think 23 weeks, I think 23 or 28 weeks. Um, Suggestion No, I have multiple outlets I can go to. I can go to infrastructure, I can go to platform. I've always had a real interest in platform, which I actually kind of took the course book and I went over with one of the main supervisors. He was like, shoot, he was like, where'd you get this from? He was like, take this. And he was like, we'll talk later. And he was like, I'll have a few projects for you. So I think I somewhat kind of answered my question, but if you guys could maybe share your experience, like, once you guys completed the actual training, where did you guys go? And what do you think maybe is the best, maybe, I guess, maybe like first job, sort of say? Now, I know it's kind of a winded, like a kind of a loaded question, but, I'd like to know, just from your experience.
I wouldn't have a full answer for you on that yet because I'm still a student in the course. But they do have a bunch of what's the word I'm looking for? The administration will bring in some guest speakers to help you prepare your, I guess you could say, career. So they will come in. We have just gone through a few behavior interviews and what those are going to be about. So they've been prepping us on that, what to expect. We've had some resume coaches come and they assign them to us so we can reach out to those resume coaches to help us build and better our resumes. I'm sure I'm missing a few things, but they have a lot. They bring in a lot of resources. It's incredible how many resources they bring in to help you out, pave your career, even going through the class. So yeah, that's my answer on that. I don't know if Dom or Francisco have a better answer than that.
No, I think this is great. Please share. Thank you, Albert. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Albert. All right, I'm gonna pass that on to Kevin. Kevin, I see you have your hand up, but we can't hear
Yeah.
you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, perfect. So my question is similar to the one that came before. It's like my role currently involves a lot of pipeline edits in GitHub and Azure DevOps, and I've been kind of forced into this position. Not necessarily forced, but when I took the role, it did not entail all of this. But seeing this cohort aligns along with it very well. Do you guys provide kind of coaching along the lines of when I complete this, how do I guess, like present myself to my leadership to say that, hey, I've completed this. How do I get a title, or I guess the position that, or the pay that comes for this role essentially? Because I'm doing all the roles, I just don't get the title or the pay that comes with it because it's just been like, hey, we have a new project, we have a new project. It just keeps accumulating, but this cohort lines up almost exactly with what my current role is just not defined as that role on paper, essentially. Is that something you guys would be able to help with once the cohort is complete?
Got it. Yeah. So we have an entire career services department. And that was the portion that we were going to talk about as well. Oh, never mind. I don't have a slide on it. So thank you so much for asking. But the career services department, they're going to take you guys pretty much to graduation, right? So this is the 80 to 100% mark, right? Now, 100% mark doesn't necessarily just mean employment. So in your case, Kevin, like you're already employed, you're accomplishing a task that you know isn't necessarily your job description. But after learning all of these skills, you're ready to essentially come to your company and say, hey, these are the skills that I have, and the current job that I have, or the current job title that I have, doesn't match what I'm doing on a daily basis. Right? That's something you could take to our career services department. They will assign you a mentor. They will assign you a resume coach. They will assign you pretty much all the resources that everybody gets. But they're also going to develop a plan to speak to you and try to determine what's the best way to go about this transition and how you should handle those communications with your own company. So to answer your question in a very long way, yes. Of
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I do have another question, but I'll wait if there's time afterwards to ask it.
course. Well, does anyone have any other questions to our current students as far as what to expect from the program? Okay, fantastic. In that case, we're going to go
I'm
ahead and
sorry, I have a question.
oh, send it, Demetrius.
Um, It doesn't matter who answers it, but how much time do you generally spend after classes studying and prepping and practicing?
A lot. A lot.
Okay.
A lot. Like I'm married, I got two kids, so I'm trying to balance being a dad, being a husband, but I mean, yeah, my wife's like,
There is no balance.
yeah, my wife's on my case, but I think it's like, I think what's cool about it though is it's like, if you're really interested in this, there's like so many resources available where you're just like, well, I gotta know. Like you've started and you're like, I have to know, and I have to get this concept down so that I can move on to the next thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
You'll also notice it just feels like there's not enough time in the day after you're done with your class. You're just, yeah, the class is long and it feels like it's all day, but you're still like, oh, can we just keep going? Can we keep? But yeah, it's a lot of studying afterwards. And
Okay.
you get out what you put in, pretty much.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
If I could add one more thing to this that I think was helpful for me that I kind of like epiphanied recently is you kind of you kind of get comfortable with the idea that I'm never going to know it all, right? Like that's just the reality of the situation. Um, but like getting exposed to everything and saying, okay, like I'm going to take time and focus on this aspect and increase my understanding here, and that's okay. And I think technology is kind of like always going to be that way because it's always like changing and evolving. And I think it's really about that mindset. If that's helpful.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I'd also like to add on to that. First, you will struggle. It's a difficult course, and I think it was like the second weekend, I was just really struggling. I even came to Francisco and I just vented to him and I told him how I felt about the class, and he gave me a pep talk. He was encouraging, and I guess a few weeks later, I just came to the acceptance like, yeah, it's a difficult course. I'm going to struggle, and that's okay because if you didn't struggle, you wouldn't be learning anything. If this came to you very easily, why bother taking the course?
Yeah.
This course it's going to test you, so don't be afraid of that. I hope that didn't scare you off, but don't be afraid
Nope,
of that.
not at
Embrace
all.
it.
Yeah, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable and like we just learned this new topic and we're already moving on to the next topic and you're like, "Oh man, I'm still like trying to wrap my head around that last topic." But then like you realize like, all right, I'm like in this period of learning and that's what I need to like get this cursory level of understanding to be able to like be a full stack developer. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. In my case, I forgot how to code at all. Like, I got my degree on computer science. God damn, I even forgot everything.
It's all right. We'll refresh it really quick. All right. And then I saw a couple of hands up. Jason Duncan, did you still have a question or was your question answered? Okay, I'm taking that as we're good to go there. And then I also saw Kevin LeCrount. I'm sorry if I'm
Yeah.
gibberishing your guys' names. But was your question answered?
I had a follow-up question. It's for the students for sure. This one is I know you guys talk a lot about the course, but what does the hours after the course or the days in between the course look like as far as like I'm assuming there's some coursework that you have to do as homework, and probably provide some deliverables to the instructor to prove that you've learned something in the class or what was covered during the week. What does that look like for you guys, outside of the class environment where you have the instructor you can ask questions? What does that look like, as far as like time consumed or the level of complexity that you face when you're dealing with those after courseworks?
You want to take that one, Albert?
I'm trying to think of a good way to answer this one. What does it look like? Well, I hope I'm not answering your question. Um, well, the assignments they give to you, it's not. I don't want to say they're not recommended. That like it's not for a grade. It's more for your benefit, but also for your portfolio. And the more you finish those assignments, and it's like building muscle memory during those courses or during those lectures. The more you do it, the more it comes better. And if you aren't practicing, you just you are uh, basically hurting yourself by not completing those assignments for yourself. Um, as far as the hours, it's just how much you can commit to it yourself. I understand life is happening. Everyone has their own day to day, but it's just whatever you can push into your day for that. Yeah, that's honestly, that's what I can say for that one.
Yeah, I could piggyback a little bit there. Speaking from the instructional side, just know that if anything's going on in your life while you're inside of one of these classrooms, we're super understanding, right? Like we understand there's life. I myself went through the entire transition process while attending Code Platoon. Like the day I graduated was my EAS date. Like I remember I attended graduation. Right after graduation, I was sitting down, I think it was an S3 or S4, one of the S shops, just trying to get out, right? Getting that final signature so I could get out and then go home finally for the day. So I understand that there's a lot of things going on, and that obviously everybody has families. You never know what's going to happen. We're super understanding. As long as you keep the instructors in the loop, they're going to do their best to work around and make sure that they can accommodate your schedule.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and
That helps a lot.
if you don't keep that communication with the instructors, they're gonna assume the worst, whether you drop without telling them or, God forbid, something terrible happened to you you know that you just get hurt really badly. But just communicate with them, and they'll help you out.
Gotcha. Uh, Thanks for answering, but you guys answered, but I was more wondering like what does that course work like the actual homework look like for you guys? But that puts it in perspective a lot that it's gonna be grueling. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Jason Duncan.
Okay, finally. Yeah, this is a very, very simple question, but this, this is a just a general question. How many people, I guess maybe by raise of hands or even the alumni, were working and going to school, or I'm sorry, taking this cohort during the same time? I just want to just get kind of like a general idea, in case like I may need to reach out to one of my colleagues, be like, hey, let's link up, let's try to brainstorm, trying to figure this out. I know people are busy, but I just want to get an idea roughly.
So is that for the whole class?
I mean, it could be. Well, you know what? Maybe let's start off maybe with the alumni, and then and then the question I've already posted was in the chat already. But with the alumni, like, were most of you guys working full time?
So for me, I'm still active duty Army, but
Ah,
this is my full time job. I got
got it.
my command to authorize me to attend this course as my full time job. I
Salute.
think it
Thank
would
you.
be pretty hard to do the 15. I can't. It would be really hard to do the full time one and work. I think that would be pretty hard.
Solid. Thank you. Salute to you. Thank you.
All right, awesome. And then I think next we have Charles.
Yes, thank you. If at all possible, I posted the question in the chat section there, but can anyone speak to the new program the VA has, which is the VET TEC 2.0, as relates to specifically the programs that Code Platoon has created? And could you kind of give us a snapshot for us that's looking to maximize the VET TEC 2.0 program with Code Platoon, please?
Gotcha. So for that kind of information, I'm probably not the best person to speak about it because I don't deal with tuition, but I can give you what I think I know, right? And I want to make sure that that's clear. Like I think I know. As of now, what we're tracking is all three of our programs have been approved. That is the immersive full stack program, the evening and weekend full stack program, and the evening and weekend AICO program or DevOps program, as some of you have reference to it. So if you're attempting to attend any of those, you could utilize VET TEC 2.0 to be able to attend. If you're wondering about, okay, well, VET TEC 2.0 won't necessarily cover the entire chunk, right? We have a lot of scholarships, and Code Platoon is a nonprofit organization. We are not looking to essentially hold all of you liable for any sort of, financials afterwards or after you graduate, right? The intent of Code Platoon is to assist everybody in transitioning into the tech world or into the tech space. The only thing that we do ask is for everybody to be true to the intentions as to why they're coming to Code Platoon. Let us know if you are attending to be able to either progress in your career, to change your job, and what your plans are post the program, right? I hope that gives you a quick idea. I think Danny is still here. Danny, if you want to speak on that before I hand off the mic, that would.
Yeah. Yeah, so VET TEC, all of our programs are approved for distance learning. We will not be enforcing the kind of the stipulation that they have that you need to find a new position within 6 months of graduating. But to Francisco's point, like the goal of VET TEC, the reason you're getting these benefits is so that you can learn a new skill, and ultimately like enrich your career and expand your career. But all of our programs are approved for distance learning through VET TEC. For VET TEC, you need to have your COE, your certificate of eligibility, and we are not able to process VET TEC until 30 days prior to the start of your cohort. So if you're starting November 4th for AI Cloud and DevOps, we will be able to process that on October 4th. So it's just the month basically prior. Yeah, that's kind of, I think that answered the question. I was a little bit off doing something else, so I don't know if there was another side to the question.
But just for clarity, I appreciate you responding about the employment piece, because I know that was one of the criteria for specifically the VET TEC 2.0 program. VET TEC 2.0, upon completion, the veteran will be assisted with obtaining and being gainfully employed. But then the other caveat is that there's a BAH allowance that goes with the benefit itself. And so as a veteran, you want to maximize your benefit as much as possible. And so the in-person learning is more or less the only way that the veteran can really maximize the full BAH allowance versus online, you get a fraction of, and so on and so forth, versus 100% in-person learning itself.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there. And that is, so in-person learning is only offered for our full-time, our immersive full stack program. That would be in Chicago. And it's the same course. You're learning the exact same material. It's just literally just in a different room. So instead of you being at home, you're learning in our Chicago facility, which is in downtown. And I understand the aspect of maximizing BAH, but that would be the only program that would allow you to get full BAH, because that's the only program that allows for in-person.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did that actually answer your question? Is there any information that you would like?
Francisco, I'll jump in real quick.
Yeah.
I did put a link in there to some of the most common questions about using VET TEC at Code Platoon. With specifically to the BAH question, our evening and weekend programs are considered full-time. They're not part-time courses, so they do qualify for BAH. The difference is on our is how you attend. Obviously, our immersive program is you can attend in person in Chicago, and there is a BAH level set for Chicago. Or if you attend remote, BAH is adjusted at a flat rate. So you can check with the VA specifically what that would apply to you, but it is one of the questions in this FAQ document.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. Did that actually answer your question, Charles, or do you want some more information? Maybe we could get somebody to come and
No,
speak.
that's fine. That's fine. Thank you, Bill. I know it's some tricky, it was, as they say, some tricky criteria associated with the VET TEC 2.0 program, and a lot of institutions were somewhat slow to respond as a vendor for it. And so you guys, someone had told me that you guys were a participant, and that's what said, okay, well, let me take a look at you guys and see, okay, that you guys really kind of understand, understand kind of the criteria. Because when you say you put that onus of, oh, okay, upon successful completion, oh, so now we have to kind of, assist that person with the employment piece as well, in order to, comply with the stipulations of VET TEC 2.0. And then, of course, from the veteran standpoint, okay, well, okay, I'll drive into the city of Chicago, if need be, where I can maximize and get the full BAH allowances itself. So yeah, those were two things that I put in the chat. And again, I know it's a new program and people are still, kind of working out the kinks and all that stuff, but I want to just see, if you guys are kind of, as they say, ahead of this thing right here before veterans are, kind of line up and put themselves in the pickle. So yeah, that's it. So.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome, everyone. Well, thank you so much for everything. Megan, I see you have something you want to add, but this is gonna be our last thing before we take a break because we've been talking about this for a while. All right, go for it, Megan.
I'm so sorry. I just have a question from Mary in the chat that I'm gonna read off mute for Danny. She was wondering if there's an opportunity for her to get a laptop to complete the program, and if she can complete part 2 of the application without a laptop at the moment.
So, I don't think you can really complete part 2 without a laptop. I mean, maybe you can use a computer like at a library to do it, but it is all hosted online. So I don't know if there's a potential workaround there. You don't need a special laptop to complete the program. You definitely can't use your iPad. We do ask that you have like our kind of like standard is a MacBook with an M1 chip or later. They're, pretty reasonably priced, especially on like back market where you can buy something used. But a laptop is definitely a requirement to do the course.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Danny. All right, everybody. We've been going on for quite a while. Currently, right now, it is 6:40. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break and then reconvene so that we can dive straight into what we're here for and actually start writing some code. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see everybody back in 10 minutes. Done. All right. So now who's going to succeed when we're doing all of this, right? We talked a little bit about Code Platoon prep, what it's for. Let's start talking about some rules as to how we're going to succeed. So, number one, make no excuses. Learning things on their own. Ask a lot of questions. Have a can-do attitude. Is persistent, is resilient, humility, humbleness, high emotional EQ, and takes advantage of resources. Learns from other people's mistakes. Now, this part of learns things on their own. What we're going to do here, because there's only so much time that we have throughout each individual class, is going to be we're going to scratch the very top of the iceberg. We're going to essentially get our toes wet inside of what programming languages, like Python, how they work, some built-in methods, and other things that we're going to talk about in each iteration of the class. But you're not going to leave here as a master of Python, right? You're going to leave here being able to work in Python and understand how to read and apply Python. But the mastery is going to come later on down the line. There is going to be a lot of things out there for you to discover, and we will have some challenges to ensure that if you are up for it and you have some additional time, you can go ahead and discover those things by solving some problems. All right. Now, people who won't succeed, they're going to need excessive hand holding. There's going to be a lot of copy and pasting from code. They're going to have a negative attitude. There's going to be a lot of complaining, mad at the world. They want the program to be done their way, argumentative, and everyone is out to get them. Doesn't learn from mistakes, right? In general, when I was in the infantry, we had a good saying that I keep to this day. It's just be a good dude, right? Or be a good person, right? As long as you're a good person, everything's going to work out for us, right? Communicate to instructors, and we'll communicate with you to make sure that you get the best things going forward. All right. Awesome. Now, Intro to Coding Live rules. Respect your fellow classmates and staff. No inappropriate jokes and no fake surprises. Don't, whenever you're working inside of groups or you're working inside of teamwork, try to avoid things like, I can't believe you didn't know about that, or wow, you've never heard of that. Although they maybe seem like natural to say, they kind of come as a backhanded compliment, right? And no one appreciates that. We're all here to learn. We may be at different levels, but we are all here to learn. Fantastic. So what you're going to learn, you're going to be learning Python. Python is a very popular language for backend server-side development and data analytics, one of the most commonly used languages. Now, Python fundamentals go over basic functions, conditionals, iterations, dictionaries, and more. And there's going to be a lot of basic programming techniques that we're going to cover here. Not only are you going to learn the language, but you're going to learn some patterns and some problem-solving skills to be able to identify, hey, this is the big problem that this algorithm is asking for. But rather than worrying about the big problem, how do I break this down into the smallest possible piece, tackle it one piece at a time, and then worry about bringing it all together later on, right? Which is a skill in itself. All right. Now, what is a programming language? Let us write a programming language basically allows us to write lines of code to give the computer a set of instructions to perform and to produce some kind of output. The output is text to the screen, creation of a file, etc. The computer will only perform exactly what the instructions you have given to it to perform. Now, has anybody done the peanut butter jelly sandwich exercise? Yeah, where essentially you have to write in a piece of paper how you make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and you do it each step at a time. And then the person executing it pretends like they have absolutely no idea how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, and they just go through the process of making it. If you haven't done it, I'll share a YouTube video here later on. But that's essentially what programming is. You are dealing with a computer that is trying to translate what you're telling it to do into actionable steps. Although you may feel like you're telling it to do the right thing, sometimes you're not. And the computer's not going to necessarily provide you the right output. So you have to account for a lot of things. All right. And we're going to see that later on. Just please know that the experience of yelling at your computer, trying to tell it like, hey, why aren't you telling me the right thing? I know for a fact I'm telling you the right thing. And then finding out that you're just missing some sort of colon or something else inside of your program, it's very common, right? That is a definitely a still to this day a common life experience for software engineers. All right. Now, before we get started, does anyone have any questions over anything that I just covered? Yeah, commas are always good ones. All right, in that case, let's get started. We're going to start off with some variables. Let me go ahead and send here a couple of resources. I just sent them inside of the Zoom chat. So please make sure you take a look at the Zoom chat. I sent you a curriculum, and I also sent you a coding playground. Your coding playground is going to look like this. This is the left-hand side of my screen. This is an online Python interpreter. It is completely free. I am hoping that we are avoiding trying to set up any sort of coding environment for now so that we can concentrate in just writing code. If you're interested in setting up a coding environment, feel free to message me separately, and that could help you get that all set up. But you may get some ads here at the top or here at the bottom. Please disregard the apps. Everything that we care about, we're going to write code on the left-hand side, and the output of said code is going to come on the right-hand side. All right. Now, this is your coding playground for anybody wanting to follow along or seeing the exercises is what I'm going to use. I have a tool called TLDraw that I utilize for creating images. That's what's happening here on the right-hand side, which actually I'm happy to share with you all as well in case you want to take a look at it or you want to make your own drawings. Now, additionally, when it comes to your curriculum, you're going to notice that it is the same curriculum as Code Platoon Prep. So let me go ahead and share that with all of you. I know there was a question earlier about Code Platoon Prep and whether you should be doing this at the same time that you are getting the in-life coding experience, and I absolutely recommend it. We're going to be covering the same fundamentals. We're going to be going through the same exact pace, so you might as well kill two birds with one stone, right? The good thing about being here in Intro to Coding Live is that we're going to go into these topics much more deeper than you will inside of Code Platoon prep. So this is definitely going to prepare us a lot better to ensure that we can tackle all of our information. For today, we're going to tackle we're going to tackle foundations here, where we will be talking about variables and data types and also functions. So again, that's not it. Let me go ahead and stop share. Nope. Let me share a different screen now. Boom, boom. And let me share that inside of the chat. So again, this is the lesson that we are going to be covering today. Does anyone have any questions regarding resources?
Just one, real quick.
All right, let's raise our hands so that way we won't be speaking over one another. I know we had questions. There it is. Go for it, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Would it be okay if I use Google Colab for?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Gilbert?
Oh, yeah. Can you paste a link right there in the chat real quick?
Which one of the links?
The compiler. The compiler exactly right now.
Perfect. Yeah, Megan just shared all of the resources one more time inside of the chat.
Really? Okay, I'm blind as hell. All right, appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, got it.
All right, fantastic. Now, variables. What are variables? Right? Variables are essentially the slot. I like to think of it as boxes. Everything in programming is just boxes inside of boxes, right? And inside of this box, I'm essentially going to be able to hold information. Now, you can think about it as a garage, right? You're inside of your garage, you're trying to store all of these boxes, and they all hold a bunch of junk that you're not necessarily going to need unless some trip comes up, right? Maybe you have camping gear and you want to store it inside of a container. Now, when you store it inside of this container, you don't want to put it on the wall with all of the other containers without having an appropriate label on it, right? You want to make sure that you label it correctly so that later on, when it's time for you to go camping, you can easily identify, hey, this container holds my camping gear. I'm just going to go ahead and grab that out of the wall, open it up, and grab all the gear that I need to go camping. Well, great. That's exactly how variables work, right? Here we have a good programmatic example. We have a variable holding current year, right? As you can tell, this was written a while back, right? So current year, this particular name of a variable is done through something called snake casing. You're going to notice that there is an underscore here. In Python code, whenever you write variables, they are not done in camel case. They are done through snake casing, which is essentially means that every space is replaced with an underscore. And that's what you're seeing here. Now, you know this is a variable because of this singular equal sign. This is called an assignment operator. And what it does is it assigns values to a variable. In this case, the value that we are assigning is the integer value of 2021. We're going to go ahead and talk about this later on and a little bit more in depth. Just try to keep these keywords in your head as we're talking about this example. All right. So our variable, again, is current year. That is my variable. I have an assignment property, and what I'm assigning to it is the year of 2021. If we try to visualize this from a perspective of actual images, because I'm a visual learner, it would look something like this. Here's my box of current year. It is completely empty. This is the variable that I am currently trying to manipulate. And inside of this variable, I wanted to hold the value of 2021. So this arrow that we're seeing here would be an equal sign. All right. If I wanted to see this in Pythonic code, I would write my variable, which is current year, and I would assign it to something like 2026. Again, you would see on the left-hand side, we have the variable itself. This equal sign is an assignment, which is going to assign a value to said variable, and the value is of 2026. does anyone have any questions about variables and how to assign a value to a variable? Okay, great. Well, let's actually run this code and see how it executes. Again, notice that when I run this code, my output comes up completely empty. That means that this Python code isn't generating any output. Okay, well, that's pretty much what I expected. And this is happening because as of now, I'm not using any functions that would be able to display an output. Well, that brings us into our next point. In order to be able to view the output of a function, or in this case, our script, we would have to actually use the print function. The print function takes in one or more pieces of data, variables or values, and it will display them. Right, so you can see here we have current year, 2021, it prints them, and then on the output, we can see that 2021 is displayed. All right, let's go ahead and put that into some application really quick. I'm gonna come over to my coding exercise one more time. I'm going to print. You could see that this is highlighted in yellow. That's what lets me know that this is a function. This function is built into Python, so it's not one that I have to write from scratch or anything like that. And I'm simply just going to call or invoke the function. And I do that with opening and closing parentheses. Currently, if I execute it, nothing happens. All right. Well, if I pass in a value, such as a number or an integer, you can see that that value is being displayed. But what I want to see, I want to be able to view the current value that's stored inside of current year. So what I do is I say, hey, I want to unpack current year. Well, what happens here? This takes my box that we were just talking about. And let me just quickly grab this. Oh, that's not going to work. All right. Well, we take our box, all right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my box and I'm going to grab the value inside and then display it to the user. In this case, I, as the engineer or the software engineer, am the user. And you can see that when I run it, 2026 is displayed. If I change this to, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4, then what's going to come out on the output?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Perfect. Then I should see 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. There you go. Right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4 gets assigned to the variable of current year and then gets printed out. Now, as of now, we're only dealing with integers, but there are many different data types that we can actually interact with whenever we're working with variables. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So with data types, there's such a thing as primitive data types, and there is also something called complex data types. Well, whenever I'm working inside of programming, I want to be able to identify what kind of data type it is that I'm working with. And sometimes when when programs get extremely large, let's say I'm working with hundreds of lines of code, I may not be able to find this assignment of assigning current year to 2021 in the foreseeable future, right? It may be nested in some sort of other file that's nowhere to be seen. So if I need that readily available to me, there's got to be a function that would tell me what type of data structure or data type it is that I'm interacting with. And that is the type function, which is also built into Python, meaning we don't have to define it ourselves. We could just simply leverage it. So here we can see that we can pass in one variable. You could see that whenever I use the print statement, what I'm passing in there is the type of current year. And that lets me know that I'm interacting with a class of integer. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. If I use the type function now, and I run this, I should see integer. This is going to become more useful once we start interacting with other data types, but it's definitely going to be a tool that we're going to want to store in the back of our pockets. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Let's hear it, Raphael.
Yeah, question is, does the print function have to come after the variable and value, or can it be reversed and still print out the same output?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, right? Can I call the print function before being able to set my variable? Let's check this out. Let's see what happens. Right? When I run this, I'm going to get an error. And luckily, we're able to actually read this error, and it tells me, hey, the error here is the name of current year is not defined. But this doesn't make any sense, right? I'm clearly seeing current year was defined on line 3. So what's happening? Why am I getting an error? Well, Python is a runtime language, meaning that it executes lines from top to bottom. And it only has memory of what has come before and not what comes later. So in this specific scenario, what's going on is we get to our print statement. My print statement asks for type, okay, and then I pass in current year. But at this state, current year doesn't exist. So I'm getting a, hey, this isn't defined. In order for this to work, I have to state the existence of the variable first before I make any references to it. So now, when I run it, I should see the print statement work just fine. Did that answer your question, Raphael?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Rana?
Can you use that type anytime in the syntax just to find out what the value or the type of data is in the variable?
You
Is
can,
like,
yes.
okay, cool. That's really cool.
Awesome.
I have a quick question.
Send it.
All right. So in real world, let's say you put that type in there to find out what type of data that is, right? Theoretically, once you actually have the actual program running, you'll want to remove that. You can't leave it there, correct? Or would it be fine just leaving it there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once you're done programming and you understand that your function is compiling correctly and you have the correct output, you're done testing it and all of that process is done, then yes, you would remove any of this debugger code. This is called debugger code because it's not serving any purpose other than letting me as the engineer know what I'm working with.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, one more question.
Send it.
I saw you move that line up there pretty quickly. I would have just erased it and pre-typed it or copy and pasted. How did you do that?
Yeah, nice. So for me, you know, it's funny. I know how to do it, but now that you ask me how to do it, I don't remember. Oh, okay, got it. So for me, it's Alt and then up and down, with the arrow keys. If
Okay.
you're on Mac, it should be Option and then up and down with the arrow keys. And I'm not sure what it is for Windows users. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
Of course. All right. And then I see a couple of comments here in the chat asking about, well, writing anything that isn't snake casing, would that break my program? So for example, if I do current year and I run this, right? Oh, that's breaking my program because I didn't change it down here. I apologize, everybody. Let me run that one more time. Everything still works, right? But I just told you all that whenever you write variables inside of Python, it should be in snake casing. Well, there's not an actual like structure inside of Python that's going to break your code if you don't name it properly. It's just a standard convention that people have. So whenever you're writing in Python, people are expecting you to utilize snake casing to label all of your variables. And if you don't, somebody might give you a weird look, but it's not necessarily going to break your code.
I have a question, sir.
Send it.
The space, I know, does the spacing matter between current year, then space, and the equal, and the space, and the value?
Got it. Yeah, fantastic question. It doesn't matter as far as actually being able to run your code or execute your code, but it does matter as far as readability, right? Whenever you're trying to actually write some good, clean code, there should always be a space between your assignment and a space between your value.
I have a question.
All right, send it, Mario.
So for that spacing, that same question applies for the line items you're entering versus 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just for readability, those spaces between the lines.
Same exact concept. Yes, that's
Yep.
right.
So, okay.
Just readability, not gonna actually break my code.
Yeah. Told you I'm old school C because C we just kept typing. It just worked.
Awesome. All right. And then I see Alice found the shortcut for Windows users is Alt plus, up and down. Nice.
I think for Windows, it depends on your keyboard structure you have. Depending on what kind of keyboard you have, it'll be Alt plus or Alt Command. It's just a key. It's just a key. It's the key function right next to your spacebar.
Perfect. All right, everybody. It looks like we're good with variables. So let's start talking about some data types next. Oh, that's the wrong slide. There you go. So now data types, primitive data types. We have strings, which are essentially just sentences. We have integers, which are whole number values, decimals, which are, or excuse me, floats, which are decimal points, and we have booleans. And then we also have this special one called none. But let's actually talk about each one of these. All right. You can see them here in picture form, and now you can see them here in coding form. Right. So again, we have this I am an integer, and it's holding a whole number of 2026. Whenever we go to print I am an integer, you can see that when we print this I am an integer portion, that maps here. I am dealing with a class of integer, and the value that it's holding is 2026. Right? Notice that I'm passing in two different variables, or excuse me, two different data types to the print function. The first one is the type function, and the second one is the variable I am an integer, and they are divided by a comma. All right. Next, we have I am a float. This holds 3.14. Our print statement maps here, where we're dealing with a class of float, and then 3.14. We have a string that follows the same exact pattern. If we look at the print statement here on the right-hand side, we can see we have a class of string, the value of I am a string, some booleans mixed up here, and booleans coming back stating true or false. All right. Perfect. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Let's actually try to replicate this inside of our code block. So here's my current year. We know that this is an integer. Let's go ahead and add the actual value itself as well. I'm going to go ahead and comma, space, and pass in current year. When I run this, what should I see in my output?
You should see 2026 after the class integer.
Okay, nice. Let's check it out. Well, I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4. Why am I not seeing 2026?
Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4 as your current year.
Nice. Yeah, because my current year is set to 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So we have integer, which is the class, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. All right. So now let's go ahead and move on to something like a string, right? Let's say my name. And currently my name is Francisco. How can you identify that this is a string? Well, a string can be identifiable by the quotation marks at the beginning and end. We're going to talk about strings in depth later on because there's a couple of different ways to be able to write your string. For now, I just want you guys to kind of get the feeling of what is a string and the easy way to identify it. Note that a string is identified by an opening and closing quotation marks, and that is a collection of characters. All right, go ahead, Joey.
Hi. So is there a reason that you have the space in between, like the two, and you have three open that you have spaces in between?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is just for readability. It doesn't impact my Python code at all. It's just so that I can, in my head, picture, hey, this is one concept. I am moving on to the next concept. So because I'm moving on to the next concept, I'm going to leave a blank space and then write my next concept.
Okay, understood. Thanks.
Of course.
So speaking of that, real quick, spaces. I think I understood somewhere when I was looking through some stuff this weekend that Python doesn't necessarily recognize spaces per se, like the way we would see spaces. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. As far as Python knows, all it's doing, it knows to execute line 1, line 2. When it sees this blank space, it essentially just, hey, this doesn't exist. Right? So this is 1, 2, and then this is now 3.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. So here's my name. You can see I'm using snake case. And not only am I using snake case, I have my assignment property and I have my opening and closing quotation marks. But now I want to print it so I can view it. How do I get it to actually a place where I can view it on this output screen? I want to see the value that is currently stored in my name.
Use the print function again.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm seeing a couple of people in the chat also letting me know. Nice. So I'm going to go ahead and print my name. And when I run this, I now get the value of the string Francisco. But maybe I don't know this is a string. How can I also see the type that I'm holding?
Use the type function.
Awesome. So I go ahead and use the type function. Hey, I want to use type for my name, and I also want to view the value. So I'm going to go ahead and add my name. And now I'm going to see class of integer 1, 2, 3, 4, and then class of string for Francisco. Fantastic, everyone. Now I'm going to go ahead and step on the gas here a little bit so that we could see the rest of our floating, or excuse me, the rest of our data types. So here I am going to hold a decimal, which we're going to do 3.14. We'll go ahead and print the type of decimal, and we're going to go ahead and view the value of decimal. We are also going to go ahead and deal with booleans. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with sleep. I'm going to put this as false because I'm currently not asleep. I'm going to print the type of sleep, and then I'll print the value of sleep. Now, when doing this, notice 3.14 doesn't necessarily have a decorator that goes to the left and right-hand side, like a string. We know that this is a floating point because it has a decimal in the middle of the number. When it comes to true or false is a key word, meaning that when you write it, the very first letter has to be capitalized. All right, we run these, and there you can see we have our string of Francisco, we have our float, which is used to determine decimals as 3.14, our Boolean, which is either true or false, with the capital F for false. All right, and in case I am asleep and I want to change that to true, I would do it with a capital letter. Again, we're going to be diving into each one of these in depth later on. This is just so that we could kind of understand what they are, where we can see them, and how we can identify what data type it is that we're working with. Does anyone have any questions for me up to this point?
I have a question.
All right, send it.
So I'm an old school. I told him old. I've done Cisco. I've done all that stuff. I have an old school manual for Cisco that breaks down every command structure for Cisco, and I did the same thing for Java. Is there a similar reference material to break down the code structure or basic code frames for Python. Like you're going through here now, basic code structure, print, type, decimals, sleep. Is there a manual or something that has those basic understanding those code structures as related to Python?
Yeah,
Because it's a lot to hold on to your memory to remember the basic structures of those words and those commands.
so what I recommend you guys use for being able to understand Python a little bit better,
Mhm.
I would recommend you using something like W3 Schools.
Okay.
Megan, if you could please send a link out to that with Python in it. And then in there, whenever you want to look up a method or you want to look up any sort of syntax, that's going to be the best place to be able to find it.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions?
One question, real quick. Like, how do you get to these objectives? Real quick question.
Yeah. Could you say your question one more time, Gilbert? I'm sorry. I think I have
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah. I'm sorry about that. It's so early in the morning right now. How do you get these objectives right now? Like, where do you get this information from? Like, you made it up?
Oh, what I'm currently working with? Yeah, I'm just making it up as I go.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That's all I need. That's all I need. Because I was screenshotting it. That's the thing.
All right. Awesome. And then I think I saw
Yep.
another hand go up.
Yep. This is Jose. So quick, the question I had is, I'm thinking of all this through the lens of vibe coding. Like I understand these primitive fundamentals are, the foundation blocks, but is there just a higher lens that we could put through this? Like when we're learning to write the syntax, like, oh, cursor, you need to know this, so cursor could do it for you or something to that nature.
Got you. Okay. Um, when it comes to the pure syntax like this, I don't know if I could give you a more vibe coding type of approach. Um, because I think when it's writing pure syntax is very good. The Not necessarily the issue, right? But let's say you're working with a vibe coding app and you're trying to debug it. You're trying to figure out, hey, why is this going wrong? Right? And little did you know that your vibe coded app, it's treating a current data type that is an integer as a floating number. It's still going to run all the mathematical operations for you. And it's not necessarily going to crash, right? But it could cause it to make the calculations wrong. A perfect example for this comes with zero. And whenever you're dealing with zero, there's no such thing as true zero, especially when you're dealing with machines. So unless you're able to identify that that is the issue that's happening, then your app is going to remain broken. Right. So that's the best approach that I could give you to something like a vibe coded app. Does that answer your question, Jose?
Yes, great example. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, and then I saw a question there as far as what is a vibe coded app. Essentially, a vibe coded app is something that's just fully generated by AI through prompt engineering or just giving prompt instructions to to an AI agent. All right, awesome.
I have one more question, Frisco. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at a lot. I'm looking at a lot of these command structures. I keep telling you guys I'm old, so I've done a lot. I noticed there's a lot of syntax that also relates to stuff like Excel backend. I'm a Microsoft guy, so a lot of the command structures I'm seeing for the syntax also applies or have looks like been ported over from Excel backends. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, that's a really good observation. Like I talked to you guys at the beginning, right? Python is used a lot in data analytics. And
Hmm.
whenever dealing with data analytics, we deal with a lot of CSV files and Excel
Hmm.
sheets and all of that collection of data. So there's a lot of functions in there that are built in to deal with CSV files.
Okay, that makes understanding a little bit easier.
Awesome. Perfect, everyone. I have one more data type for you all to be able to demonstrate. And what this is going to demonstrate is the absence of anything. And this is called none, right? I'm going to go ahead and print out this value as well so that you guys could see it. And we're going to take a look at it here. So this is a class of none type, and it holds absolutely nothing. You are typically going to see this when your function is not returning a value, or if you have a variable that you don't want to assign manually, you do want to speak it into existence, but you want to assign a value to it programmatically. Now, those are a lot of big words that don't necessarily matter to us just yet. Again, just keep it in your back pocket. It's going to be a lot more relevant later on down the line. All right. All right, go ahead, Ronald.
If you're using the none type on a variable, does that variable also get inferred as far as value type when you do input something into it, or is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It will. Yes, it will evolve. It will be transferred both as value and data type.
So it's not hard locked into a value type?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's really cool.
Awesome. All right. Perfect. Any other questions? Fantastic. If you guys don't have any other questions for me, then I have a couple of questions for you all. All right. In this next portion, what we're going to do is we're going to break up into pairs, and we're essentially going to tackle a couple of challenges that I have for you guys. So to start off, we're going to deal with strings. And I'm going to send these challenges here inside of the Zoom chat. Go ahead and format them a little bit. All right, and there's 3 challenges in there for all of you. All right, and this is regarding strings. You can see there what I am asking of all of you is, oh, and I think it just got lost, so I'm going to send it one more time. Oh, people are still sending stuff on the Zoom chat. All right. I'm going to send it one more time. We could pause the Zoom talk for a second there. I will give it back to you guys here shortly. All right. So there you can see the first one is going to be assign your favorite movie title to a favorite called favorite movie, or excuse me, to a variable named favorite movie. The next one's going to be assign the name of a city to a variable called birth city. And then we have assign nickname or username you would use online to a variable called username. Does anyone have any questions about those 3 challenges?
We're just doing that first one out of the 3, the first set of 3.
All 3 that I just sent, they are to be tackled right now. Yes.
And where do we just type that in the chat, or do we?
No, so that's going to take us into our next step. I'm going to go ahead and open up breakout rooms. You're going to be paired up with another individual, and then you guys are just going to essentially take the next 5 minutes to put this into practical application. You could share your screen with one another the way I'm sharing the screen now with you, so that you guys can get some good feedback and actually go through the process together. You don't have to print the values, but yes, please do print the variables. All right, awesome. Let me go ahead and pause the record. I am so sorry, everybody. All right. So just a quick review. Again, we have our function here. Our function is taking in a parameter. We call our function. We pass in the argument, and then our function body prints out our output. All right. Awesome. Any other questions? And then Jack, you still have your hand up. Do you have a question, or is that from earlier?
That's my bad. That was from earlier. I see that now.
Okay, fantastic. It doesn't seem like we have any other questions. So let's go ahead and continue here. Oh, I keep going the wrong way. So now we're able to pass in parameters, right? We have parameters and we pass in some arguments. Great. But what about the returning? Because as we said, our functions typically want to output something. Well, let's take a look at the key differences between these two code blocks. Notice that now we're wrapping our function in a print statement. This hello Francisco is happening from line 2. And this print on line 4 is returning none. Well, that's weird. Why is it returning none? Okay, let's take a look at the next one. In this example down below, we're not printing hello Francisco. We're returning hello Francisco. And then in line 4, when we print the function, there's no none. And instead, we get the actual hello Francisco string. So what's happening there? What's the difference?
I mean, from the top example, I just see that there's 2 print statements and there's nothing to recall because it's already calling one on line 2. I'm not sure about the return portion though.
Okay, nice. Yeah, very good points. Let's actually take a look at this, all right? And let's divide it step by step. So starting off with the first one, this is our current print statement, and this is my current function. I run say hello, and it just simply prints that string. Now, I'm going to set this to a value. Let's say I want to capture my greeting, and I'm going to make that equal to the return of my function. And then I'm going to print greeting. Let's run this. Well, my greeting came up as none. Okay. But I still get my hello Francisco string. This may work, right? Maybe I don't need it to return something. But sometimes maybe I want to do something like string manipulation, right? What if I wanted to fix this whole untitled portion and then turn it into a title? Well, now I'm getting an error. Okay. Well, how do I fix this so that I can have some logic? Well, I would fix this by returning instead of printing. And now when I run it, I get hello Francisco. Let's talk about what's happening here. I have a function named greeting, or excuse me, no, it's not. It's named say hello. And I have a variable named greeting. Now, greeting is my golden goose. That's where I actually want to see my values. All right, so I'm going to write in gold there. And finally, I'm passing in some data of Francisco. All right, so Francisco gets passed in. When Francisco gets passed into the say hello function, it needs to also be passed in to greeting. Notice that if I do print and then print it out, well, I'm getting none. That's because its connection to greeting is broken. Well, why is it broken? It's happening in this assignment process. I am assigning greeting to the return or the output of the function of say hello. But if I'm taking a look at say hello, does this have any output?
No,
Okay, I'm getting no. Why do you say that?
because you tell it just to print the word say hello as the first line of iteration, but not to pass it forward to the next line.
Right. I told it to print. I didn't tell it to return. All right. So now when I say, hey, I want you to return, this connection that we have here gets connected. And rather than just saying Francisco, well, the return value of say hello is hello, Francisco.
So in old terms of coding, is that similar to a loop statement? Because essentially the return is acting as a loop. You're saying turn this value from greeting back around. Is that similar to what a loop statement would have done? Or not a loop statement, but or in layman's terms, think of a if statement. If this is false or this is true, do this. If not, give me a value of none, essentially. Because I'm saying the same thing in two different ways.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. So you're setting in a conditional, which makes sense,
Yes,
right? The condition here is that I need to return in order to have an output. Otherwise, there won't be an output. So
which
yeah,
is a loop, which would be similar to a loop statement or an if
yeah,
statement. If this is here, this. If not, this is what you're gonna get.
yeah, you could definitely put it in that perspective.
Okay.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I could even edit the output, right? I can go ahead and add this whole title method now. And when I run it, you can see that the output gets mutated, right? I get hello, Francisco. All right. Awesome.
Now that you do that, I have a question. And I realized it when I was playing around with the code earlier. I realized that when I was playing with for example, my strings, the type statement, it doesn't matter in the order of operation where you put that in. For example, when you're doing your drills earlier, you were doing you put in your string in, you put type first, and then came afterwards. When I did it, I put in my variable first, then the word type, and then my string afterwards. I think the way it looked to me is, as long as you have the proper opening and closing, those variables can come in anywhere within the syntax as long as the proper closures or openings occur, correct?
Gotcha. So, not in this case, right?
Okay.
And let me explain why. So, the first thing that we're
Cool.
working with, which was the type function,
Mm-hmm.
that's a function, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I am using here, the title, is
Mm-hmm.
not a function. This is a method, right?
Okay, I understand. I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now.
And we're going
The
to
re-
discuss this later on.
Yeah, the reason I asked that because when you did it, you typed in the title, you did the blank parameter brackets and then a closure to mark the end of that syntax. So yeah, that's what I was wondering because it didn't matter where the title function came in as far as order of operation. So my question is, if you type title before greeting, would it still work the same way?
It would not. It would break.
Okay, we'll break. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Aaron.
Hi. So whenever you have the greeting dot title, the extension on it, is that what's causing it to uppercase the hello?
Yeah, that's right. So if you see here, this is hello, right? And then we could print greeting dot title, and then we could see this H is now capital H.
Thanks.
Of course. All right, and we're going to be talking about these methods later on. Fantastic, everyone. Okay, so now we've seen how to declare a function. We've seen how to manipulate a function, define a certain set of steps. I think now it's important for us to actually get some practice in, right? Because observation only does so much. So before we go into observation, I do have another video to share with you guys to help you collect your thoughts and then also get us together in case we have any other questions. So let me quickly share this video here. Yes, this is going to be another Scratch video. And then afterwards, we'll go ahead and dive straight into practical application.
Functions are pieces of code and they're terrific. You create them to do something specific. And functions can have all the stuff we talked about before, like variables, loops, conditions, and more. The best thing about functions is they are designed to be used and reused many, many, many times. A function is a bunch of code that has a set of steps to complete a specific action. And you may not realize it, but in a way you complete functions in your own life every day, all the time. When you brush your teeth, or tie your shoes, or get on the bus to go to school, you're completing a set of steps in order to do something specific. And that's just like a function. Functions are pieces of code and they're terrific. You create them to do something specific. And functions can have all the stuff we talked about before, like variables, loops, conditions, and more. The best thing about functions is they are designed to be used and reused many, many, many times. So let's create a function together to get our robot friend to roast us a marshmallow. The first thing we need to do is name the function to remind us what it does. So we are going to name this function roast it. Inside the roast it function, we need to code the steps, which are find a marshmallow, poke the marshmallow through the stick, hold the stick over the fire, wait until the marshmallow is brown but not black, take the stick away from the fire, pull the marshmallow off, and voila! We just made a function. Functions are pieces of code and they're terrific. You create them to do something specific. And functions can have all the stuff we talked about before, like variables, loops, conditions, and more. The best thing about functions is they are designed to be used and reused many, many, many times. So, let's talk about the best thing about functions. They are reusable. Remember all those steps that went into creating the function? Well, the next time you want to roast a marshmallow, you don't have to say all those steps again. You can just call the name of the function. Want another marshmallow right now? Just call roast it. Want one tomorrow? That's right. Just call roast it. What about in 6 months? Roast it. And here's another cool thing. Functions can be created to be adaptable. You could use the same function with the same steps and bring in other things to roast, like hot dogs. I sure do love functions. Functions are pieces of code and they're terrific. You create them to do something specific. And functions can have all the stuff we talked about before, like variables, loops, conditions, and more. The best thing about functions is they are designed to be used and reused many, many, many times.
You're on mute, Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah. Right. Oh, thank you so much, Megan.
Yeah,
So,
I think another challenge I'm having is, and I can't remember the gentleman's name. Joey was with me. I'm not taking screen prints of your examples here.
Yeah,
So
me
when you
neither.
move us into the breakout rooms, because I didn't take a screen print, I don't have the syntax of how you wrote it. So when you give the instructions on what to do, I'm trying to remember it, and me and Joey are trying to figure it out.
that makes sense. Yeah, no, thank you so much for pointing all that out. Maybe what we need to do is get a Slack channel for all of us so that we can communicate with one another. I think that's probably going to be the best way to like share resources. That way you guys can see my code as well. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Otherwise I'm just gonna be sitting here taking a whole bunch of screen prints and pushing them to a document and then being able to run the exercises that way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
find myself switching between W3 and other things to try to understand the code myself because I'm not seeing your examples.
Okay. Fantastic. So let's go and tackle this one down, right?
Yeah.
So this one is the name builder. Let me go ahead and grab these, this exercise requirements, and let me go ahead and put them in here. All right, I'm just going to comment that all out. All right. And let's make this into a big screen so we could actually get some real estate here. All right, so for this exercise, what I want to do is I want to define a function named full name, build full name. So here we go. I define my function and it's named build full name. I know I need my parameters and then it's going to take in some body at some point. All right, so now this function is going to take in 2 parameters. It's telling me that I need a first name and that I will also need a last name. And it's going to return a singular formatted string combining them. So for example, the example that it's giving me is of Alex Johnson, but that's not necessarily going to match what I want, right? I want it to be dynamic. So instead, what I should return is first name plus space plus last name. All right. And then it tells me, hey, now you need to go ahead and call the function. So that's build full name. And then if I need to pass in some parameters, which I know I will, it should be Francisco, my last name, which is Avila. All right. Let's see. Oh, I should probably print this out. Otherwise, I won't be able to see that output. And now we can get Francisco Avila. All right. Now I just ran through it. I demonstrated it to all of us, but now I want all of us to work through it together. Right. And I see we have a hand up, so let's go ahead and answer that question. Go ahead, Jose.
So on line 9, when you pass through the first and last name, why is that preferred rather than defining two variables? First name is Francisco and such. Like why would that be preferred?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this example here of like building first name, last name. So are you referencing this here?
Line 9, where you define the first and last name. I'm just curious, like in line 8, like you could add a new line 8 and a new line 9, like where first name is equal to Francisco, last name equal Avila. And then you could just put print build, and then you could just run print build full name, and then it would just first plus last or something like that.
Got you. So to answer that question, I'm gonna get a little bit in depth into it. So that's has to do with code design and scope, right? Whenever you're assigning variables, when you assign those variables, they belong publicly, meaning that they're in a global scope. And that is retained by memory the entire time that your script is running. Right. So to ensure that you're not occupying way too much memory and that you only have things when you need them, what you do is you establish these values through whatever way necessary, whether that's through an input field or let's say somebody's just sending you this data and you're grabbing these values. And then you could reference them inside of the function where you're running all of your logic by the parameters first name and last name. And then once the function is done executing, then all of the memory locations that were being allotted for this function get removed as well. So they're open back up so that you could continue using them later on. Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
Of course.
So I have a question. So essentially, on line 9, where you actually typed your first last name, would it be more feasible for future reference to use the input function to allow the user to input that information directly?
Yes, that would work as well.
Okay.
All right. And then Ryan, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
So you raised an interesting question, and if I'm too far out of scope, let me know. But so you mentioned memory, and for variables, we could have strings that are very large, that are affixed to some of these variables. So is there a way if we wanted to do house cleaning to remove something out of memory downstream once it's no longer really applicable for use case? Or do we even tend to think that way when we're designing our software?
Yeah, I don't think we really think in that direction, right? I think it's more in the direction of you should only have it established and only have it occupy memory when it's needed, right? And then make sure that it stays within scope. So by simply putting it inside of a function, I'm kind of doing that garbage collection, for lack of better words, by just putting it in that scope, right? Because once the function is done, now it's garbage that gets collected, memory gets opened back up. Whereas if I put it in a global scope, it stays occupied forever, right? If we're talking about like a large amount of text, that would also be used only within the scope that it needs to be accessed.
So by using the scope of a function, you're able to do all kinds of things with the variables and with memory and all of that. But when all is said and done, the only thing that comes out the other side is what is returned. Everything else is kind of tossed out.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's
Gotcha.
the other wonderful thing of the function. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Jason.
Yes, I'm kind of still getting familiar with the terminology.
Mhm.
On line nine, should I say, at the end of the parentheses, could you remove that second parenthesis and I just want to see what it does. Like,
Yeah.
what is the output of it?
Let's check it out. All right. So that's giving me, hey, you have a syntax error. And it's telling me you have an opening bracket right here that was never closed. Right? So here's my print function. I am calling the function, but I never got closed.
Ah, I see.
Right? If it helps, what I like to do whenever I'm viewing my code is for my print statements, I like to indent them like this. All right? You'll notice that this still runs, right? And then that way it's visibly clear, hey, this is my opening bracket here on line 9. I need my closing bracket on line 11. And then now my other nested function has its own opening and closing bracket. Does that answer
Marvelous.
your question?
Marvelous. Nice.
Perfect.
Nice. Well explained.
All right. Awesome. Nick?
Yeah, I actually had a quick question. Would I be able to share my screen briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and
Okay.
stop sharing my screen here.
Okay. Thanks. I'm just trying to figure out why this doesn't work. So you can see here I have the first part, right? Define, build, full name, first name, but I did mine a little bit different and I assigned my variables. If I'm using the wrong vernacular, I apologize, but like first name, middle name, last name, Nick, John, Bryant, right? And I'm trying to figure out why this doesn't work, but I guess how do I need to rethink about building this function? Because I see that this isn't the right way to build it, but like, how do I need to rethink the function so that I can kind of align or make this work, I guess.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, right? And let's talk about what you're seeing here. So in that statement, what you were looking at, and let me share my screen here so you
Sorry.
see that. No, no problem at all. In that statement, what you were looking at is the fact that you didn't call your function at all. Right? So this is telling you, hey, you have a function, and that function's name is build full name, and it lives in this current location inside of your memory. Okay, well, that's great, but to me, that's kind of useless when I'm trying to execute some code, right? So how do I fix this? Well, you took the approach of saying, hey, I have first name, which I'm going to make equal to Francisco. And hey, I also have last name, which I'm going to make equal to Avila, right? And this is just my first and last name. So that's why I'm putting it here. And when I run this, I go ahead and pass in first name, and I could pass in last name, right? This is the part that you were missing, right? This function call is what connects this here back to here.
Got it.
All right. And then again, it connects Avila here back to here. All right.
Perfect. Great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And next, Jason, do you have another question? No.
Apologies. Hand was up. Question answered. Proceed.
Okay, perfect. Joe?
In line 7, after return, it doesn't need to be within parentheses.
That's correct. Yeah, your return statement does not have to be in parentheses.
Is there a reason?
So parentheses have to do with a complex data type called a tuple. And sometimes if you put parentheses next to a return statement, depending on the order of the characters that you place in those parentheses, it may return a tuple rather than returning what's inside of the parentheses. So just to avoid the entire confusion, you don't put parentheses around it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Of course. All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much for bringing all that up, everybody. I really appreciate it. All right. I know we are at time, so out of respect for everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the teaching portions here. There will be more content that we're going to be covering in future lessons. I hope all of you return. Before you take off for the day, I would like to ask you all to please fill out a form really quick. And this is strictly just for Code Platoon's purposes, completely voluntary. If you're not interested, we completely understand.